Patty, we are expecting to hear from Barack Obama shortly, I understand, but in the meantime, we have heard from the State Department.
We have. It's going to be a little bit different when we do hear from President Barack Obama because he's not in the house behind. He's not in the house behind me. He's at Martha's Vineyard. I don't know if they just told me that they can hear him yet. We're going to hear the audio from him before we actually see him on camera. Across town over at the Pentagon, they're focusing on the question of where is Gaddafi, and they're saying that they believe that he is still in Libya. And obviously the U.S. has some intelligence assets. I'm sure you can assume that they're focused on trying to find exactly where Gaddafi is. At the State Department, they're looking at what's next, and they're talking to the NTC. Let's hear what they had to say about that.
Secretary Clinton conveyed the U.S.'s strong support for the efforts of the Libyans to bring an end to the Gaddafi regime and to begin a new chapter in Libya's history. She and Mr. Jalil discussed ways that the international community can assist Libyans with the urgent work of protecting civilians and providing key services, as well as the TNC's efforts to assemble an inclusive new government to protect the rights and aspirations of all citizens. And to foster peaceful reconciliation among all of Libya's people. The Secretary also expressed the firm support of the United States for the people of Libya on all these fronts, as well as our enduring commitment to a secure, stable, democratic, and peaceful Libya.
Well, Patty, Western powers have certainly been intensifying planning for post-Gaddafi Libya in recent days. What can we expect from the United States? What role have they been playing as far as the NTC is concerned, and what can we expect in the future in a Libya without Colonel Gaddafi?
Well, we know what they're not going to do. The Pentagon was very clear and very adamant today that if there's any sort of UN peacekeeping mission, any sort of NATO role post-Gaddafi, that the U.S. has absolutely no intention of putting any U.S. troops on the ground in Libya. We do know that they've been working with the NTC. The State Department provided, and the Department of Defense provided about $25 million in non-lethal aid. They were very careful about saying that they weren't going to help them with this fight. They provided things like excess Pentagon equipment, like boots and tents and things of that nature. They've also been focusing on the humanitarian mission. There's a big concern about what happens, that they're going to want to try and flood aid into Tripoli, especially after this is over. Then there's also this big question. Remember, there were sanctions against Gaddafi and his family here in the United States, and the Treasury Department behind me said they were able to find about $30 billion in assets. Well, they still have control of those assets. They tried to get a law through Congress that would have allowed them to give that to the NTC. That didn't pass. So then the big question is, when do those assets become unfrozen legally? Can they hand that money? I mean, it's $30 billion. Can they hand that over to the NTC? You would imagine that that money might come in very handy as they try to begin this transition. So a lot of moving parts still yet to be determined as to exactly how this is going to play out as far as U.S. involvement.
And of course, I imagine the Americans are very concerned about what will happen once the rebel forces do take control. Thank you very much, Patty Culhane, for now. We'll be going back to you, of course, as soon as we hear that message from Barack Obama.